I thought I would go ahead and just record a video about rounding decimals. Thought this might be helpful to students and families as they're gearing up for our quiz this week. So I thought I would start by sharing the rounding rules that we talked about in class. 4 or less, let it rest. That means the number doesn't change. 5 or more, raise the score. That means you would increase the number that you're rounding by 1. Another way that we learned it, Mrs. Barber taught us this one, 5 or above, give it a shove. So either way, you're taking the digit that's being rounded and raising it 1 or letting it rest. And that'll make more sense when I do these examples. So for these two, we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So this is our 10th digit. So we learned to underline that. And then I'm going to circle the digit next to it to the right, because that is the digit that's going to tell us to let it rest or raise it by 1. So with those rules in mind, the 7, 5 or more, the 7 is telling that to increase by 1. So rounded to the nearest tenth, 3 27 hundredths becomes 3 3/10. Rounded to the nearest tenth, the 8 is in the 10th place. The 2 is telling that to stay in 8. So 5 82 hundredths becomes 5 8/10. And because we're rounding to the nearest tenth, our answer stops at the 10th place, and those digits just are not part of our answer. Let's look at the hundredths. So here, the 5 is my hundredths digit. The 3 is my hundredths digit. The 6, 5 or more, raise the score. So that 6 is telling that 5 to increase by 1. So 12 756 thousandths becomes 12 76 hundredths. Because we're rounding to the nearest hundredth, our answer stops in the hundredths place. The 6 has done its job. 4 931 thousandths. That 1 is telling the 3 to stay a 3. So to the nearest hundredth, that is 4 93 hundredths. The nearest whole number. So this one tripped some kids up a little bit. So our nearest whole number is the digit right before the decimal place. So you could also say to the nearest 1 whole. Except I don't like to say to the nearest 1 because there can be more than 1 digit there. So 11 53 hundredths. The 5 is telling the 1 to either increase or stay. Here, the 5 is underlined and the 3 is telling it what to do. So to the nearest whole number, 11 53 hundredths. The 5 is telling that 1 to increase by 1. So my final answer is 12. Here, the 3 is telling the 5 to stay a 5, so my answer is 25. I hope that all makes sense. I hope this is helpful as you might be working through some of the problems in the PDF that I shared on Class Dojo. As always, let me know if you have questions.